So all of these have to be studied halachically to know what is permitted and what is forbidden.
But that, like you said, androgynous, where you have both, and in those times you couldn't do anything, but today you can.
That's right.
So does he have the choice? Is the choice to him to say, I want to be this or I want to be this? Are you allowed to do this?
He can do that, but his activities are still restricted by what the halakha tells you that androgynous can do. The halakha says androgynous is allowed to marry a woman, but is not allowed to marry a man. For instance, I'm just giving...
So even if he changes, let's say he changes to a woman,
Yeah.
then...
Still not allowed to marry a man. That law applies to him. But that is not that's not a genetic engineering issue. Now, this is what I had on the question of, what I found on the question of genetic engineering. There are some who forbid it even for medical purposes, but the more outstanding authorities permit it. And whatever is needed to make a man healthier, that is v'rapoya rapeh, which according to Ramban is even a mitzvah, to cure people and to make them healthier and better. So that is permitted, even if you take parts of molecules from a different species, you're allowed to implant it for medical purposes to make him healthier. That is, halacha is pretty much accepted, even though there are authorities who forbid it.
How is it if you want to improve, let's say today they're trying to improve wheat or all kinds of things by doing engineering. Can you do that?
That's a very relevant question. And again, according to Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, when you're asking about an animal, you're allowed to change it in such a way that doesn't transgress the laws of Kilayim, but in plants, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to insert parts of molecules from a different plant species. If it's just another variety of the same species, you're allowed to. Like, for instance, maybe orange and lemon, I don't know if they're considered different species or different varieties. That I'm not clear. If it's the same species, only different variety, you're allowed to transplant one. On the other hand, if they're different species, then you're not allowed to in plants. But in animals, you're allowed to. That's the halachic decision of Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. That is the most outstanding psak halacha.
Well, where does he take that for animals that you can? Where, on what basis?
Because there is no prohibition in animals to have them to take part of one animal, put it on the other animal. There's no law against it. In the case of plants, you're not even, I'll try to read it to you from the original.
So also parts of animal to a human being you can also. Parts of an animal to a human being.
Yeah, that's right. That would go together.
You're safe.
Genes also?
Pardon?
Can you take animal genes and implant it to the human body?
Yes, there's no, according to Shlomo Auerbach, there's no prohibition against it.
So reliance, you could make monsters. Yeah.
He says, in animals, it seems to me that the activity has, there is no because it's not a sexual, you're not allowed to mate a, let's say, a donkey with a horse. But you're not allowed to produce a moon, but you're not allowed to. But if you take and insert parts of molecules, that's not included. But in transforming trees, he says, that would be forbidden because even if you insert juices from one tree species into another species, that is still what comes out is a mixture of two species, and that is forbidden. But in the case of animals, this law does not apply, because it only applies when there are two bodies involved. Then you're forbidden to mingle them. But when you only take parts of the body and insert it, that is permitted. In the case of animals, in the case of plants, it's forbidden. So this is the material that I...
If there is such a thing that you can take from a plant and then implant it in a human being, you cannot?
It's a human being.
Yeah, let's say they come up with something, if you take this and this and implant it.
That I suppose would be. If the recipient is an animal, it's permitted.
And then
If
human
the
being.
recipient is a plant, it's forbidden.
Well, you take a plant and implant it in a human being, it's forbidden.
No, permitted.
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 Yeah.
Plant to plant, isn't it?
You said also from an animal. You can take a part from animal and implant it to a
Into a
man.
human being.
But if it changes the character,
If it's to improve, all this is permitted only to improve the life. We're allowed to change the world. We're here to work on the world, but only to make it better. Any activity which is not constructive, which doesn't benefit, would be forbidden, any such mix. But when you're doing it in order to improve the world, that's what we're here for, and that is permitted. That's why I started off with the parable of the sheaves, tweed sheaves, and the fancy cake. Yes.
So if a scientist, a botanist, he does collide, he takes from different species, could be more than two, and he creates a new plant or a new vegetable, okay? And so are you allowed, if it's been proven medically, to take the essence from that, fluid or whatever, to save a life?
You're not, and this activity that you just described, of mingling two different botanical species, that is prohibited.
Okay.
But once it's been done, the result is permitted. There's no prohibition on, let's say, using a mule. You're not allowed to produce a mule by mingling the horse with a donkey. But once it's been done, you are permitted to use the mule.